Hey everybody, let's talk about Needful things.
Nerd Theory.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian, and today I decided that I'm going to review the 4K Kino Lorber edition of Stephen King's Needful Things. Now, Needful Things is actually a movie I actually really like a lot. When it first came out, which was back in 1994, I had devoured the Stephen King book originally. And when the movie came out, I was real excited. But I remember walking out of the theater and being kind of disappointed because there wasn't more to it. Because it's a big book, there's a lot going on, but this is a 2-hour movie. And then later on, they came out with a 3.5-hour cut on TNT, which nobody believed existed, by the way, because I told people, like, there's a longer cut. I'm like, no, there's not. Like, I saw it. I swear I wasn't crazy. And it turns out I'm not crazy because there actually is that cut with this packaging. So I'm going to talk about just the real 4K, and then I'm going to go into that 3.5-hour cut. But if you're new to the channel, you like boutique Blu-rays, you like Blu-ray reviews when I do them, or 4K reviews, hit that subscribe button. Seriously. Do yourself a favor. It's good stuff. I'm kidding. I don't know if it's good stuff. I'm just starting this again, to be honest. Okay, so Needful Things from Kino Lorber in 4K. It's not a surprise that this is going to be a good transfer. Kino Lorber it's kind of knocking it out of the park, honestly. They're one of the more consistent brands, in my opinion, when it comes to 4K and their transfers. Now, with that being said, I'm not overly ecstatic about this transfer. It still looks and sounds better than it ever has before. But let's get into that. So with the audio, you have a DTS 5.1 and 2.0 mix. The 5.1 is what I played through mine. Now it's as far as the surround sound, it's probably not going to wow you too much. It's very front heavy. Where the back speakers came into play was the score, the musical score, like towards the beginning and probably at the end too. And then towards the end of the movie, when it started raining, you could really hear like the raindrops in the background. So that's where it kind of shined the most. Other than that, once again, very front heavy mix on this one, which is fine. It doesn't need to be. It's Needful Things. It's not an action movie. So that was really good. Going into the video, it is Dolby Vision with HDR10. Now, with Needful Things, there's some, and not so much Kino Lorber, but just in general, when companies transfer these, they're trying to get really crispy, with the colors and stuff like that. And the HDR does help that, but it seemed like when they were doing this from the original 35mm negative, I believe it was, it's not overdone. It's not oversaturated or anything like that. It's a very natural transfer because the movie takes place up in Maine, in a fictional place called Castle Rock, and it's supposed to be very woodsy, and a lot of the buildings, like, they'll have the blinds on the windows, and there's a lot of beams of light coming in, and it's not hard or anything. It's just very natural. It's just giving you kind of that. It has a very homey feel to it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I don't really know how else to describe it, to be perfectly honest with you. So basically the transfer, not overdone. The blacks are black where they need to be, and the whites are white and all that with the HDR. But as far as the coloring, I didn't find it to be like overdone. So a very kind of a natural, homey look to the movie itself, which is probably the way it needed to look in the first place. Now, before I said there was another cut, there is a 3.5-hour cut of this movie. It came on TNT back, I'm not sure when. I remember watching it with commercials. So it was probably more like 4 hours or 4.5 hours, whatever it was when it came out with that cut. And I feel like I was the only one that watched this cut sometimes, because I would tell people, like, there's a 3.5-hour cut of this movie, or 3-hour cut. And like, no, there's not. I'm like, yes, there is. You don't seem to get it. And at the time, I would have said that is the superior cut of the movie. However, I'm glad that this cut exists still. I'm glad they were able to get what they could and bring it over, so you do have that option, especially if you enjoyed reading the book Needful Things, because the 3.5-hour cut goes into more of like the different people in the town and what the little pranks they're pulling on one another, who's doing what and when, and how everything kind of comes together, much like the book, which why I liked it. After seeing this cut, first off, they pretty much literally took most of that footage from the TV edit and brought it here. So when I say TV edit, you're getting the fade outs to like when they're going to commercial. You get the overdubbing of the curse words, which can be funny sometimes. It's not as bad as some other movies I've seen where they do that on television back in the day, but it's still it's still there. But also when they HD it up, they turn it into a 4:3 format, so you're not getting the full, like a 16:9 ratio or anything like that. So you're getting a 4:3, so you're going to get those black bars on the side. Now, with that up-resing, and they tell you this before the start of the movie in this disc, that there's going to be some inconsistencies. And there was. Like, big time. Motion blur galore. Like, I know they can't help it. They did the best they could with what they had, and we got it, and we need to be thankful for that. 100%. But, man, the motion blurring in this cut of this movie is all over the place. And that might not bother anybody, especially if you know what goes into transferring all this old footage, this SD footage into a high definition Blu-ray. Overall, I'm not going to say I recommend the 3.5 hour cut more because of those little things that might bother you as watching the movie. It might not, but in terms of an adaptation of the book to a movie, I do believe this is the better cut overall. There are some things in this cut aren't necessary. There's about like a 10-15 minute car chase scene at the beginning that had no reason to be in there whatsoever. As far as for time, it was just like, why does this even exist? And I understand 100% why they cut it out of the original, or the cut of the movie that they put out there in 1994. So overall, Needful Things in 4K. I think it's an obvious buy if you're a fan of the movie. Don't be prepared to be like wowed by anything that the movie does in the picture or sound department compared to other transfers of the movie, but it still is the best it's ever looked. Sounds the best it's sounded for sure compared to the original cut. Special features wise, there's nothing new in the special features department from Kino Lorber. So if you had the original Blu-ray disc, chances are this isn't going to do anything for you as far as special features are concerned. But if you enjoyed the movie, you like Stephen King movies, you could do a lot worse than this edition of Needful Things in 4K. So with that being said, I'm Brian with this Brian's Boutique Blu-ray channel, also known as Nerd Theory, or at least it used to be. I need to work on new graphics. But definitely, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, give it a thumbs down. To me, it's all the same. I'm just glad that you came. Hit that subscribe button. Catch you later.